Hello, everybody. I'm so excited. Even Cheryl's here.
I'm even here.
And we're squished up together like we
Yep.
like each other or something. We're trying. This is the second time of the 3 cameras at once this week, so it's very exciting. I know I've changed. Not my friend sometimes, but this is going well.
Yeah.
So it's our Starch Solution question and answer that we have at least monthly, sometimes twice monthly. We like to put it out there. We have a brand new guest on. So
We're very excited.
I'm very excited because Tiffany, we've been hoping you would come on, yeah? And exactly, because what my community really loves is like getting to ask some questions and get some of this great information. And anyone who's new to the Starch Solution, know if you look down below, you click that little caret on the description, it'll give you information on the McDougall Free program, going to the McDougall website, making an appointment with Dr. Lim. So all of these things that you might hear, you can find some of that information there. If you're watching the replay, that's a good place to go first. So in case you don't know who these lovely ladies are, I'm going to have them introduce themselves because I don't believe in reading that paragraph because A, it makes me uncomfortable when I'm on the other side of it. I'm like, did I write that? And then the other thing is like, I want everybody to see your personalities too. Okay, so we'll go to you guys. Stacy, you want to start off?
Sure, would love to. Hey, everybody. It's so good to be back with you. It has been so long. I was realizing, I think our July one must have been like July 2nd or something. I don't know, but it feels like it's been forever since I've been here with you guys. I'm so glad to be back. I'm Stacy Cross. I'm the support specialist, the second support specialist, Tiffany being number 1. And the two of us work as a team together to support all of the patients that come through the McDougall 12-day online program. It is such a wonderful and fulfilling role that we're in, and we work very closely with one another. We are in constant contact with one another, and I'm so excited to have Tiffany here today because she's just absolutely amazing, and I'm really thrilled and excited that you guys get the opportunity to get to know Tiffany a bit. I am a mom of 4 boys. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm a wife. And I live in Texas. So very good to meet you all that I haven't gotten to meet yet online. And please go ahead and start putting any questions that you have in the chat, because that's what we're here to do today is just answer any questions you have. So that's it for me, Tiff.
Hey Stacy, hi everybody.
Hey.
My name is Tiffany Hobson. I have been working for McDougall Health Medical Center for over 23 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, not the old timers remember me. I have a background in pharmacy and, I've worked in other areas. But the way that I really came about was through meeting Dr. McDougall windsurfing and having no idea who he is. So after knowing him for months, we just started talking about different, things with the hospital because he knew I worked at a hospital. And he gave me some articles to read, about diet and health. And I was floored that this information had been out there for so long and I had never heard of it. So that's really what had me start slowly changing the way that I ate. And that was also the segue of starting to help at registration when we had advanced study weekends or our residential programs. After that, his nurse retired and she wanted to go into practice for herself. So he asked if I would sit in with him because usually it's a nurse-doctor relationship, not really anybody from pharmacy and a doctor sitting there with patients. And I said, yeah, I'll try it. And I was sitting next to him for 15 years until he gave the reins over to Dr. Lim. And then I had the pleasure of sitting in with Dr. Lim until we changed the format of our business because of COVID. And now I am still working behind the scenes. I am vice president of operations. I've done everything from heading our continuing education for nurses. So if you ever have a question, please contact me. I also used to head and help out with all of our adventure vacations when we did them, our advanced study weekends. I answer day-to-day questions and help Heather McDougall with day-to-day operations of business. And, I've pretty much done a lot. I don't really do the social media part because I personally am not into social media. I am helping patients and I'm on my computer so much every day that when I'm done with work, I like to be with my family. I have a husband and a daughter who is very well versed in this way of eating and likes to talk to her friends about, I have this friend named Jeff, when she's talking about Jeff Novick, on why yogurt really isn't that healthy. So, I love what I do. I love helping people. And I am just really thrilled and honored that, Kathy, you would have me on your show. So thank you.
Oh, we're just thrilled that you're here. It's so exciting for us to be able to have even more voices about, because one of the things we do often end up talking about on the show is, that sometimes myths build out in the intranets. And so what we hope this should be, and what we do do our best to do, is to not put out misinformation, because it's so easy. And also, Dr. McDougall had a long career, so what might have been 30 years ago might not be exactly what things are doing now. But we do have some questions, and the first one is a little bit interesting, and it's for you, Stacy, from Karen. Stacy, crazy question, but is your father-in-law James and Martha Cross?
No. That was easy.
Yeah, right, because I was like, we've never had a question like that. So here's another one. I'm going to put just the two of you guys.
Uh-oh. Did we lose you, Kathy?
It's the mute thing. It's because I
Sorry.
have all the
Okay.
scenes. I'm sorry. So from Karen Hicks.
And I have a bowl of rice and I was chomping. So.
Yeah, so we've been muting some. So we had our little lunch snacky. Karen says, should we lift weights while losing weight or wait until after we lose the weight?
This is a huge question. Stacy, do you want me to start or do you want to start?
Why don't you start and I can just be the caboose if there's anything you left out.
I love that.
I think what this question really begs is the person who's helping you, do they want to have you see your results quicker first? There are people that will say, look, and I know this because I remember when I was overweight in my 20s, coming from a long line of being a competitive athlete, I know myself. I knew that being overweight, if I went back to my usual exercise regimen, I would hurt myself very quickly because I'm at a different intensity level. Not like an Olympic athlete by any means, but I just, it's very important to know your body. So that's why I personally didn't do it. I wanted to lose the weight because for every pound over you are, that's 4 pounds on your knees. So, I waited until I had about 20 more pounds to lose, and then I got back into exercising. Now, there are people that tell you, hey, when you first eat this way, just eat potatoes, just eat this way. And I think it's because you really see how much weight you can lose very quickly, and you get to feel good about this new change that you're doing. On the other aspect, let's look at exercise. When we look at health, it's just not about losing weight. It's a side effect of getting healthier. But there are many ways people lose weight that are unhealthy. You could starve yourself, you could do cocaine. I'm just being honest, And so to me, being skinny doesn't equate healthy. There are people that are underweight, and that's not healthy by a medical definition. So when I think of health, I think of, well, what compromises health? Well, what's the big story? And the big story isn't just your weight. It's your mentality, it's your physicality. And it's great if you're losing weight, but your muscles are going away if you're not utilizing them. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to go out and start, dropping and doing planks immediately, or getting 20-pound weights and doing biceps and triceps, but doing it incrementally. So if you want to weight train, I think that's fantastic. If you want to go out for a walk, today I knew after I was working and took my daughter to school, I was going to be here. I only had time for a 30-minute walk, and I speed walk. So that was over 2 miles for me. A 30-minute walk is better than no walking. So I think any bit of exercise as you're going through, it's all a part of your story and your journey for you to get where you want to be. Stacy?
Oh my gosh, Tiff, why are you so good? What am I supposed to say? You're amazing. I love Tiffany. Okay, I totally agree with everything she said, 100%. The only other thing I want to add is that, this is a very important question. This is one that I talk about with my patients a lot, because you have to make sure that what you're trying to do is not counterproductive to something else you're trying to do. So when we're trying to lose weight, in order to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. Have to. There's no way around it. Whether you're eating donuts or eating potatoes or eating broccoli, it doesn't matter. You must be in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. In order to build muscle, so create new muscle, you have to be in a calorie surplus. Okay? So a calorie deficit and a calorie surplus don't coexist. It doesn't happen. You can't do it. Okay? So I agree completely with Tiffany that your muscle is so important, and maintaining muscle mass is so important. So I usually tell my patients, hey, while you are in weight loss mode, can you just make it your goal to maintain your muscle mass, maintain your muscle weight, your musculature, maintain your cardiac fitness, maintain your routine, your exercise regimen. Not necessarily ramping up in order to build or in order to burn a ton of calories or anything like that, because in terms of weight training and building that muscle, it would require you to be in a calorie surplus to gain more muscle. And so it's counterproductive. Likewise, the other thing I don't want you necessarily to do, I'm not saying it can never be done, but it makes it very difficult to lose weight if you suddenly increase your exercise intensity, either by length or by intensity level. So let's say, for example, I'm going to do a couch to 5K. So I go from completely sedentary to I am now running, 3.5 miles, okay, regularly. That is a major increase in calorie burn, okay? And the issue with that is that then your body responds by demanding more calories, which makes it very difficult to eat reasonable portions. So you end up eating more because you're burning more. That is the way that your body preserves itself so that you don't die of starvation, right? And you don't wither away. So when you're increasing, just like what Tiffany said, you want to increase in intensity and in duration and all of that very, very slowly and incrementally, and recognize, because I'm burning more calories than I used to, my body's going to demand more calories. So you need to have food on hand, the good foods that you want to be eating, so that you're not ravenous after a workout and you go, binge on pretzels and whatever else. You can go in and have some rice, have some beans, have some potatoes, have some bananas, that kind of thing. So hopefully that helps add just another little bend on it.
I liked what both of you said. It was such a good information, because I think one of the things that we talked about this last night. Last night was Vegan Indian Buffet. So the plant-based pod goes and gathers there, and we talk about all these things. And so someone was saying, yeah, it's great that everyone's being told to eat all this extra protein and they're not exercising, right? Like, the protein misinformation is really what I'm saying. I'm not saying just in case anyone just saw that little bit and not what I said before, no one's telling you to eat more protein at all. The world is, but the McDougalls are not. You hear it a lot just out of the vegan plant-based community, but also we're hearing it more inside of the vegan plant-based community. And I just kind of wanted to mention too, I like what you both were saying about some movement. I found for me when we did the program, one of the things that and by the program, that's the 12-day program, that was awesome. We took walks, and I find for me personally, I'm a stress monster. I work a lot. That's the nature of my job. I have to do social media and write books and do classes, and so sometimes it's a little overwhelming, and then I feel like I don't have time. But if I take time to have anywhere from a 20-minute walk to a 2-hour walk, it really changes everything. And like what Stacy was saying, it's about what you have when you come home. And at that point, I was putting in like stews and things like that in the slow cooker in the morning. And if you work outside the home or not, what's great, and you could do this in your Instant Pot, and there's a lot of slow cooker recipes you can do in both, or find the reason I kind of like appliances is that you can magically prepare for something that's getting ready to happen you don't want to have happen. Like, I can make something in the morning, but I'm too tired to make something in the evening. If you're the person you're too tired in the morning and you want to make it in the evening, the Instant Pot is your best friend, right? Because you got those 15 minutes to do it. Mm-hmm. But even I work at home, and sometimes I'll be like, yeah, today is really overwhelming. But if I put together some beans and some vegetables from the freezer and some magical potions of spice blends, it takes 0 time, and then I'm fed. So thank you both for saying that too. And I think when I was in the program, you guys were talking too about, what is stressful and what is not stressful, how changing your diet can be stressful too. So I love how all that went together. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm asking for lots of questions today. So Oatmeal Maniac, which is an awesome name. Let me make this bigger so people can see this. Says, question about weight maintenance for Stacy after reaching goal weight. Stacy has mentioned that she eats mainly maximum weight loss, but sometimes she may eat a full starch meal.
Yes. What's the question? Sorry.
That's a good point.
Might have missed the question.
Oh, wait.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, there is more. Okay.
Okay.
I think it's a 3-parter. I got excited because there's question marks in front of each one. Without any non-starchy vegetable or other, may eat a full starch meal without any non-starchy vegetables, or other times in social situations, she may eat regular McDougall plant foods like muffins and nut butter. So I'm curious, what does Stacy do to keep her goal weight in check after these events? Do you weigh yourself regularly? And if you weigh yourself, do you find that something you added during a social situation caused you to gain until you return? Okay, well, gosh, this is this is like a 6-comment question.
Oh. Do you gain a couple pounds? What do you do about it? Do you spend the next days eating a higher percentage of non-starchy vegetables than starches in an attempt to lose those extra pounds, and keep weighing yourself until you return to your goal weight, or maybe you do more exercise to get back to goal weight?
So it sounds like, I'm going to try and compress this in my little brain. See how hard it's working? Can you see it right here?
But go ahead.
Okay. It sounds like saying, I'm thinking it says, if you went out and maybe you ate off of your normal, closer to maximum weight loss plan, and you found, whoops, gained a pound or 2, what would you do? Also, somewhere in there is, are you weighing yourself regularly to kind of know what this is, or are you intuiting it from other means? Is that about what you got?
Great. Yes, absolutely. And I think those are fantastic questions. Okay. So first of all, let me just say, I do weigh myself regularly. Absolutely. Because if I don't know the data, I can't do anything about it. So I, long time ago, decided that the scale is just a tool that gives me data. It doesn't define me. It doesn't say anything about how good of a person I am. It doesn't, make me like, I will not allow it to have control over my mood. Sometimes that's easier said than done, but it just provides me data. And that data tells me things like, whoa, did I overindulge in that bread? Did I overindulge in the pancakes or whatever it is that I'm having? So yes, weighing yourself regularly, I would say once a week or once every other week during maintenance. Although studies have shown that people who weigh themselves daily during maintenance tend to maintain their weight loss better. Whereas people who during the weight loss phase do better when they weigh themselves once a week. Okay, so just take that for what it's worth. And it's very individual in terms of how often people should weigh themselves, because it is such a psychological thing for so many people. So know thyself, as always. That's what it comes down to. But to answer the rest of the question, that's exactly how I maintain my weight loss. I pay attention to what different foods are doing to my body and what's happening on the scale. I also pay very close attention to how my clothes are feeling, because sometimes the scale, even though it spits out data, doesn't tell the whole story. Because I can be up on the scale, but have loose pants. And in that case, I go, well, something else is going on. There's some other reason I'm retaining water or something like that, but my pants still fit well, so we're good. But I respond. So I respond to the data that I gather from the scale. And if it's up after, being a little bit looser with my calorie density, then yes, I absolutely just return back to maximum weight loss. And I will just say, as I've mentioned before, for me, I see, instead of seeing, this is maximum weight loss, this is Mary's Mini, this is the regular McDougall plan, and this is the standard American diet. I see, okay, forget that I said standard American diet. We're all talking about within McDougall stuff, the McDougall world. I don't see them as separate entities. I see the McDougall plan as all one big house with different rooms that you can go in and out of as needed based on what your goals are. And so, yeah, if the scale is up and my clothes are fitting tight and I'm not feeling exactly as trim as I'm used to feeling, then I just go spend some time in the maximum weight loss room. And it's no problem, because I'm eating when I'm hungry and I'm stopping when I'm comfortably full. I'm not feeling deprived. I'm not feeling like I'm not getting enough to eat. And then if I'm going on vacation and I feel like I can splurge a little bit, then I go into the regular McDougall room. So I hope that kind of answers it. But that is exactly how I maintain, is kind of what you described, just taking the data and responding to it appropriately.
I think that's great. And Tiffany, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I remember when I wanted to lose weight, the thing that I concentrated most on was potatoes and soup. Straight up. I know that if I'm going to an event and I want to drop a few pounds, mommy is eating soup, and that's it. And I'll throw some potatoes in there, and I always have creamer potatoes ready to go to roast or smash down as a country style hash brown, or put it in the microwave with a little bit of salsa. But I'm really basic because I know that worked for me, and I know it works for all the patients that I say, hey, why don't you try this? And that happens to not only be McDougall, it also happens to be in the maximum weight loss room. But as like Stacy, I don't think about it in those terms. I just tend not to usually make higher calorie dense meals, because when I do, that's usually when I have other people over that don't eat this way, that I know my food tastes good. My family loves my food. I want to elevate, dominate, and show other people that, yeah, you don't need meat, dairy, or oil to make an outstanding fettuccine Alfredo with asparagus, chanterelle, and black trumpet mushroom.
Oh God, I'm coming to your house.
That's awesome, and I feel that same way too, because I've told this story before, but it's like there were some rumors that these friends of ours, we don't want to go to Kathy's because she's going to cook vegan, and so I made it was summer, and I made a watermelon avocado tasting menu, and I won. So much like you. sometimes I need to win. So it is interesting, isn't it? And Cheryl has finally this past year, gotten where she'll eat soup for a meal, because like I'm team soup.
I never looked at soup as a meal. To me, soup was the appetizer that you had before your meal, so that maybe you didn't eat as much. But now I can like sit down with a big bowl of soup, and her soups are very hearty with lots of vegetables and things, and they're usually almost bordering on stewish sometimes for me. But I will mow through one of those for dinner now and not blink an eyelash.
Yeah.
Well, you're like my husband. My husband will not eat soup. And he always says soup's not a meal. And now my daughter, who is 9.5, is turning from, I like soup. No, I don't think I like soup anymore. So it's, it's a process. I love soup. I have no problem making myself a quadruple batch and knowing I'm going to eat it. Now, what I do, though, if there are certain soups I make that all I need is a slotted spoon, and I just put it in a bowl and say, here you go, and he eats it, because there's no extra liquid. So it's very much more like a meal. Yeah.
Yeah, works real good. And the funny thing is, for me, all the years that I complained about soup, that my most comforting meal that I make for myself is a bowl of tomato soup with noodles in it.
Nice.
So I don't know why I didn't think that soup was a meal, because that's always a meal. So who knows?
It's very interesting. So Terry Moses, Miss Terry, says, how do I do this when I need to cook for my mother who's not? So Miss Terry, I don't know how old you are, but I believe her mother is quite old. So it's not like she's going to be able to make her do something differently, I think. So I'll let you guys address that.
Yeah. Would you like me to start, Stacy?
Sure. Go for it.
I'm all about, think about what you want to eat. Is it Italian? If it's Italian, okay, well, what do you want? Do you want lasagna, risotto, pasta primavera? Is it Mexican? Are you feeling tacos, enchiladas, whatnot? And you want to do things that make life easy for you, but it's basically you're only cooking one meal. So if you're making a marinara sauce, it's not too much on the other pan to, maybe ground up some meat, and take some of your marinara sauce and add it to the meat. So now they have more of a meat sauce where you still have your sauce. Nobody's going to sit there unless they're cooking asking you, why didn't you put oil in it? Nobody will realize there's not oil, especially if they have meat in it, because the meat itself is so oily. And I'm about, like when I make a lasagna at home, I like, tons of bell peppers. My husband and daughter love tons of spinach. We all like mushrooms, but which one do we want today? Like literally, I have one lasagna and it is quartered on whose side is where.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's not that taxing for me. If I'm, I love doing a taco bar when friends come over. I'll make them fajitas. My fajitas are the bomb, whether they're portobello mushroom, vegetable, steak, doesn't matter, because I don't really care about what other people eat. My number one concern is myself, my husband, and my child. My second concern is my patients, people that come to me that want to eat this way. But what I like to do is maybe I make something that is specifically for these people that are coming over, but everything else is McDougall. I just don't advertise it,
Yeah.
So, with the exception of the meat in a fajita, the way that I marinate all of my vegetables, the way I make my rice, my beans, everything, it's all McDougall. And I think most people, if you try to put something in a box, and say whether you're vegan, vegetarian, plant-based, whatnot, that other people who are not this way, it kind of closes the door on them. It makes them feel, I don't want to be like that, and they're not open to the idea that you can pretty much be plant-based, and once in a great while, if it's Thanksgiving and you want turkey, have at it. That is not going to dictate your health overall. What dictates your health overall is what you eat consistently, day in and day out. But for somebody that's older, like if my grandparents were still alive, I would not be sitting there trying to tell them, oh no, you can't ever have this again. That I just couldn't do that. But what I would do is I would make things like, a taco bar, like something Italian. You could do Indian food. I mean, you could do anything. And you just give them a little bit of what they want. If they want to put Parmesan cheese over pasta, have it for them. It's fine. Because what they're also getting is more vegetables, more starches. So you're still doing something better for them than if they just turned around and went to McDonald's.
Exactly. Yeah. We do that a lot. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do that a lot when we go to my parents' house. Kathy will make basically the meal. She'll make it basically how we want it. And then my mom sometimes will come in at the end and she'll make a piece of salmon for my dad or cook up something else for her, kind of thing. And they'll do some meat something and they'll just add it to their plate. But they'll eat all the other things that we did. So.
And depending on, like, when I think too, like coming from North Carolina, my parents have passed, but there would still be, no matter where you are in the U.S., to have comfort food that would still fit, like even shrimp and grits. So I make great cheesy grits with no oil, with just a little bit of nooch, a little bit of liquid smoke. They're very good. And then I can air fry some cauliflower is actually a brilliant shrimp substitute. And put some spices in it, grill it, and then, have the little sauteed stuff to put over it. And then you could have some shrimp for her. You could, and I like what you're saying. Like, we do taco bars a lot because I don't know how, but most of my friends are picky eaters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks.
Even some of them
I don't
are
know what I
pickier than
did
me.
karmically in the past to have this happen. But so it is the easiest because then everybody can leave out whatever they have certain feelings about.
Right.
And that could be really good. But like, sometimes with older people too, they're used to having a meat, a veg, and like a potato. Yay on the veg and potato. And the thing is you can make yourself like a faux shepherd's pie out of that, or, all kinds of goodies. And Stacy, do you have some stuff you want to add in too?
No, I mean, I think
Okay.
Tiffany covered it so well. The only other thing I would say is just don't assume that they will be dissatisfied with just your regular McDougall food that you make. Assume that is enough, because let's face it, we know that it is. We know that you can get good and full off of plants. We know that, especially when you're eating like we do, a starch-centered diet. So unless they are saying, I will be very unhappy unless you make me meat, or unless you put cheese or something like that, assume that what you are making, and be confident in the fact that what you are creating in the McDougall style of cooking is perfectly sufficient and will be so enjoyable and well received, unless they say otherwise.
I would slide something in ahead of that, because that's perfect. What I also would not do is go, we're eating McDougall tonight. We're eating whole food.
Right.
Can you believe there's no oil in there? Like,
Exactly.
just let it be.
Yeah.
This is
They
dinner.
don't need to know.
Dinner is dinner.
Right.
This is what we're having for dinner, because even I see this talked about a lot. And when we were in the 12-week program, or the 12-day program, sorry, it's been a long week. Even from the second day, we were all talking to each other. You'd say, oh, how can I get my sister, my mom, my dad, my child? How can I? And it's like, it's not that you can't, in that there is no hope ever. However, you're in this 12-day program. My opinion is you should be focusing on you. Yes, I brought Cheryl with me kicking and screaming, so I will tell you that. But there was reasons.
Yes, it was
And
a good thing.
she was really afraid that she wouldn't be able to be full. And what's interesting is, potatoes are the best. Everybody loves potatoes. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that I think, and I'm not saying it's not 100%, nothing's 100%. Somebody out there doesn't like potatoes, but there's 7,000 other starches that are delightful. But I think it's really important, and I do this because, you know, they always say all the vegan jokes. Oh, do you have any friends that are vegan? Oh, they'll tell you, right? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And I think if you just kind of go, oh, I have some special dietary needs. Let me look at the menu. If we're going out somewhere, yeah, I can get something there. But if you're having people over, it's really easy to make really hearty foods. And I would make something that was heartier, have more potatoes, more pasta than I would normally eat available. So if they start feeling nervous as they're not feeling that heaviness from the meat, they can still have a little more to eat. But I think the big trick that I see, like if we go there and I'm going to make you a vegan meal, they're like, yeah, I'm going to go get chicken out of the freezer. That's the first thing. But if I just go, oh, I made something, chances are they'll just go and eat it and they don't have to do anything. Yeah. Do you guys see some of that too?
Oh, I know that. When I worked at a hospital, I brought brownies. And I remember that there was one pharmacist that was at least open to this and said, wow, Tiff, that's really great. And everybody else in my department said, it's not bad for being healthy.
Because they knew, right? They knew
Right.
you did something.
But, you know, sometimes I can be sneaky. And so I got out my calendar and I wrote down like 6 months later, don't forget to sneak in brownies. So 6 months later, totally different dish, different way that I had cut them. I mean, but the recipe's the same. I was working a very early shift. I snuck them in to our little area where we would convene and eat. And before I knew it, they were gone by 10 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And I was told how great these brownies were, but it's too bad because I wouldn't eat them because they weren't, you know, McDougall. And I let that marinate for a while as I left the pharmacy in tears because I was laughing so hard. And then about an hour later, I came back. I said, you know what the funniest thing is that those are the exact same brownies I made 6 months ago that you said were okay if they were, because they're healthy.
Yep.
You know, so it just shows that when people think something's healthy or it's not what they're used to, that there's this blinder there. And that's why I don't tell really anybody what I do. My next door neighbors, diehard carnivores, they didn't know I eat this way at all. Because when we all get together, I always bring food over. They love my food. They always want my recipes, you know, but nobody really notices what's on my plate. So
right.
I think that when you're just sharing in the moment with other people and you're not nitpicking about who so-and-so is eating or this and that, you're just enjoying each other's company, which is the whole reason while you're together. This is where food is even more enjoyable, is that everybody comes together at that point.
Right. You know, I found at work, since I did the McDougall program, sometimes people just like, are you still eating vegan, blah, 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 blah. And you can always tell the look on their face that they're kind of waiting to go. So I have started saying, I avoid meat, dairy, and oil. Nobody has anything to say about it. Nobody thinks anything twice about it. They just go, oh, wow, cool. And that's it. They're just done with it at that point. It's the V word.
The V word, vegan is very loaded, and it's been kind of comedic fodder for a really long time. And while in our community, plant-based is pretty good, means a certain thing, there are also nefarious businesses that are trying to co-opt that. Like I actually sat in on a blogger conference where the Beef Council, the American Beef Council, was plant-based doesn't mean you don't eat meat. It means you have a plate of mostly plants. And I saw somebody else doing that, and it just, it ticks me because I'm so nitpicky about that, but then that's why everyone's always confused. Like if we called an egg, could be a chicken egg, a duck egg, or I don't know, an avocado when you put turmeric on it. Like, to me, that's how vastly different. Well, of course you would be confused, right? Miss Terry also wants to know, how is the McDougall family, and that she misses seeing Heather and Mary regularly. But of course, we're all sending our heart and love to them. But is everybody kind of doing okay and hanging in there?
Yes. I think grief always takes different people, different ways on how they handle it. The McDougalls are a very tight-knit family. And I mean, ever since that I started working for them, I was just blessed that, I actually got to be a little part of that. But Dr. McDougall was always very honest with, the fact that he had a massive stroke at 18, the fact he lived 30 years later was huge in itself.
Right.
And I think that when you have this idea that life is precious and you're maximizing out life in every way, shape, and form, which he did, highly intelligent. Look what he has done for lifestyle medicine, how he's helped, thousands upon thousands of people, and still loved his family like none other. I mean, that is such a beautiful life. And if you think about the entire world and all the people in it, how many people get to live a life like that? And, and I think that just, us carrying on his message and continuing his work is the absolute best way to show him our love and our respect.
Absolutely. That's just such a great way to honor him, is just to continue the legacy on.
Yeah, and I was really glad that the program didn't take a break and that things were able to continue, because I don't know him as well as you do, but I think that's what he would have definitely wanted to happen.
And I heard that is not?
No, Dr. McDougall would wanted the show to move on, always.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always. Because our patients deserve that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the feeling we have.
Yeah. And that's the feeling how, all of us working there, it was difficult on different levels, I think, for different people on our team, just because we're so used to Dr. McDougall being there. But it also showed how much that we love and respect him, how much that we love our work. We love helping people. And you don't stop helping people just because, something's happened. Think of all these people that, especially July. July is a program where people who are teachers, who are students, who, just happen to have a summer break, that's the only program they could do in a year.
Right.
So if we were to cancel it, these people would have to wait a whole nother calendar year, and that's not very fair to them. Yeah. So, we all work very hard and we love what we do. And I think that shows in our passion for how we help our patients.
And absolutely. And I have heard from some people who were in that cohort that it was odd with Dr. McDougall not being there, but they felt like everybody else just completely picked up the ball and ran with it, and they felt like they got a lot out of it.
Yeah, we've heard really good things. We weren't expecting anything else either, but we did actually. But
it was just to have that confirmation was really nice.
Okay, I know we've got to end exactly at 2:30. I've been telling you guys to put in your questions, so I'm going to put question marks because it helps me a little bit. So the next question is from Diana. Is it okay to eat 1 cup of oats pre-cooked steamed? So like 1 cup of dry oats, then cooked. I get that look like it's too much. And that's the look I have to answer that question. I'm sorry. The librarian look came out. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Tell me. Well, I would love to answer that, but I want to know more about the librarian look. Tell me
really?
What in that question made you respond like that.
Well, I get looks like that's too much. So it's not
from other
towards
people.
yes.
Got
Because
it.
I'm very much like, if I'm asking like you to help support me do something, let's say we're doing that, and then you say, well, I don't know, then that's okay. But like if you just came up to me and you're like, you're eating a lot of food, I'm like, you are just a rude, horrible person.
Like my mom.
Right?
My mom went from always saying that I was I was always too heavy, and then this last couple times we went, she's like, you shouldn't be eating that much. And I mean, it's just like, oh, stop.
And, yeah, people like to be involved. So that's what the librarian look was about. It's not about having a question about how much you should eat is valid. It's super valid, right? Especially when you're trying some new way to eat. This is my opinion. Obviously, I am not a member of the McDougall team. But it's not valid to really judge other people's choices. Like raw Chef Yen was here with us for a week, and she eats constantly because she eats mainly lettuce and fruit. So she's hungry all the time, right? It's valid, right? And she was like, I hope you don't judge me for eating all the time. And I'm like, it's not something I would think of doing, right? I might go, wow, that would be really inconvenient for me to be a raw vegan. Or something like, I would turn it towards me, which is the kind of person I am, instead of going, wow, she's really weird. She doesn't eat potatoes all the time, right? Like, why would I turn that around? So that's what my look was. And I'll put it back to you too.
Okay, so the only reason why I asked for clarification about your look was because I interpreted the question a little bit differently. I thought this person was saying, I understand the question, but I thought that what they were saying there at the end is that she herself is looking at her bowl and thinking that looks like too much. So I can address both. Okay. Number one, how much food you eat is nobody's business. Period. End of story. That's ridiculous. Think about how totally inappropriate it would be in virtually any context at all for you to look at someone else's plate and tell them they're eating too much food. That is so socially awkward and weird. And so if any of you are doing that, please stop it. Only because out of love, I don't want you to be that guy. You got me? Okay, so there's that. But if the last thing that you were saying was that when you measure out that food and you look at it, it seems like it's more than it should be, you should need, that's a different thing. Because most of us are coming out of diet mentality, diet culture, which is all about portion sizes and all about how much you should need and how many calories you should eat a day and all of that beeswax. And so we have been taught to judge ourselves if we need more food and to stop ourselves from eating more food. So honestly, a big bowl of oatmeal versus a small bowl of oatmeal is meaningless to me. I don't judge between those two things. What I judge is, hey, did you stop when you were comfortably full? Did you only eat when you were hungry? Why did you eat? Did you eat because you just saw a really sad movie and all you want to do for the rest of the afternoon is eat? Okay, that's not a good reason to eat. If hunger is not the problem, food is not the solution. But if you're eating because you're genuinely hungry and then it just happened to take you that much food to get full, there is nothing wrong with that. And the sooner you can suspend your own judgment about portion sizes, the better off you will be. Because then you can start to do what we emphasize so heavily in the McDougall program, which is you are getting back in touch with your own body's signals, because no one else in all the world can tell you how much you should be eating better than your body can tell you. Now, having said that, I know that many of us have a long history of blowing straight through our fullness cues, okay, and overeating. So in that vein, I would just encourage you to slow down and observe yourself. How much oatmeal does it take for me to get full? And don't go off of measurements. I wouldn't even be measuring that oatmeal that she described, a cup pre-cooked or whatever. I have no way of knowing if that's enough oatmeal for you or not, because I'm not in your body. And I also don't know your height, your weight, how much weight you have to lose, male or female, how old you are, all the things that factor into that, how active you are. My goodness, how active you are. All of those things impact how much oatmeal is going to be enough. So you see how no one can answer that question for you except your own body. And your own body is not broken. It is good. It is programmed to keep you alive and keep you slim and keep you healthy. And so that is going to be your very best guide to know whether you're getting enough or you're not.
Exactly. And may I add to that, Stacy? I always tell everybody, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satiated, repeat as necessary. And maybe on a certain day, that's 2 times. Maybe on a different day, that's 5 times. You don't know what you're doing from day to day. And if you're not sure, if you're coming away from eating and you're full blown stuffed, then yes, you are eating too much. And I can eat just as fast and just as much as the best of them. Been there, done that. But the way that I ended up curtailing that is whatever I had in front of me, I'd eat half of it and then I'd walk away, because I'm never going to change my fast eating habits. They're too ingrained in my DNA. I know this about myself. But by eating half and walking away, and then maybe in 20 minutes, if my body's screaming, no, you need a few more bites, and take a few more bites. But what this did was it slowed the process down enough for me to visualize, oh, I don't need a big plate, like a heaping plate. Like I really only need about this much food on a plate, and that's where I'm good. So you kind of retrain yourself, both, getting in touch with your body, feeling what satiation looks like versus feeling what it's like to be stuffed. And at the same time, you're visually showing yourself, oh, that's about how much food I need.
Yeah, I love that. Can I add one more quick little thing? So besides being coworkers, Tiffany and I are good friends. And so we are often on the phone together. It's like, what are you doing? I'm eating blah, 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 or what are you making today? Yes, texting, calling all the time, And I just want to demonstrate a point here that you can take from us that really drives this whole thing home, which is sometimes when Tiffany describes for me like how much of something she ate, I feel a little panicky. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is not very much food. Like, I feel like I would just be so hungry if I only ate the portions that Tiffany eats. But Tiffany is tiny. Tiffany, what are you, 5'0", 5'1"?
I am 5 foot exactly. As a matter of fact, I still measure myself to make sure I am still 60 inches on the dot. And at 50, I'm 50 years old and I have not shrunk yet. So yoga does work. Stretch that spine, everybody.
Nice.
But no,
right.
But I don't need that much food. And when I was overweight, I was the girl that could take down 3 big plates at dinner. I would put men to shame. So I am so used to overeating, and I also know myself so well. I know when I will overeat. I will overeat if I haven't eaten anything during the day, and all of a sudden it's like 3 p.m. because I'm a workaholic, and it hits me. Oh, I'm hungry. I know that I could possibly overeat. I know I could possibly overeat if I'm tired. What I don't do, and I really recommend for everybody not to do this, is called eating for sport. That means you're sitting down watching the football game, because thank God football season's back. But my husband and I do not eat anything when we watch a game. Why? Because I don't know what my satiety is. I don't know if I'm hungry. I'm probably not even hungry, because my attention is on what down are we on? How are we pressing the advantage? Are we close to scoring some points? And whether you're watching a movie, reading a book, on somebody's blog, if you're there just eating, it's mindless. You're not paying attention to your hunger and satiation cues. So, and this is my real kitchen that you see behind me. I work out of it, I cook in it, I'm always in my kitchen. If I'm going to eat while I'm working, my food is not here. I have water with my daughter's like fabulous straw. But
Yay!
yay. But my food, I at least have to take a few steps over. Like I take an actual break of, oh, I am hungry. Let me have a couple of bites. And for me, because I work so much in my kitchen on the computer, it's easier for me to take a few bites here and there because really, A, that's all I have time for. And B, it kind of keeps my satiation. For lack of a better term, for those of you that have done yoga, it's like laying in Shavasana. It's that relaxed moment where you're not hungry, you're not full or starving. It's just this mellow, hey, you're being you, and you're just being. That's what that nice level is. And I can tell you personally that as long as I maintain that level throughout the day, my maintenance weight, like I never have to weigh.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I do weigh, because I am that data driven girl that I like that data, and I can feel it too. If I have something salty, I can feel it when I'm trying to put on my rings, and then I'll go on the scale and go, wow, look how much weight I can gain with sodium overnight from a sodium bomb. And it's just a mental log. Okay, well, if I'm going to eat miso soup and I'm going to have a huge bowl of it, that maybe next time I'll need to have more water with it, just to even it out. Because different miso soups, if you read the sodium content, you need to read serving size and sodium, and you'd be amazed. You can have 7 right next to each other, and they all say a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So another question, I'm just going to leave it on you too. Let me see if I can make that bigger so other people can see it. Jackie says, do you have starch suggestions for someone who doesn't like potatoes or oatmeal? Rice is so-so, but I'm concerned about the possible arsenic from it. So we're looking for starches that aren't potato, oatmeal, or maybe rice.
Quinoa, corn. I mean, those are the first things
Exactly.
Right.
They come right at me. And some people who don't like regular potatoes like sweet potatoes. So if you haven't tried like a Japanese purple sweet potato or
So good.
a yam or something, my daughter, one thing I've always done with her is she has to try something at least once. She knows she has to revisit it in 3 years if she hated it, but she has to explain to me what she liked about it and what she doesn't like about it. Because I used to work in the wine industry. So it's like you're, deciphering a type of wine. Did you not like the smell? Did you not like the flavor? Did you not like the texture? Did I put a spice on it that you did not like? All of these things add up. So if you haven't had a sweet potato, try it. There are people that love Yukon potatoes but won't eat russets.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you don't like something, I am a full believer. We are all too old to try to eat something that we just don't like. I don't like spaghetti, squash, and eggplant. There you go. But I like enough other fabulous things. So if you like corn, corn on a cob, corn on a salad, you could put corn in pasta. And pasta is another starch that you can have. Whole wheat brown, that's going to be your best choice. But guess what? Even if you just have, whether it's rice pasta, soba, buckwheat, whatnot, or even just regular semolina, in the end, it's better than McDonald's. And yes. I think that sometimes we get so minute into that moment of, well, how many nutrients does this and that have, that we forget the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, are you just eating some starch and vegetables?
Exactly.
Stacy?
Great. Yeah. I was just going to say, don't forget about beans and legumes. Those are starches as well. Yeah. And also, I just wanted to suggest, a lot of people in the past who have told me they don't like oatmeal, I suggest they try oat groats. oatmeal in a different, level of processing. Oat groats are the whole, the whole grain, the whole oat, and minimally processed, and they come out more like rice. And so even if even if you don't like oatmeal, oat groats are almost like an entirely different thing. So you might try that and see if that makes a difference. Also, I just wanted to address the rice thing. So the concern about arsenic in rice is primarily due to the fact that the fields where we grow rice in the United States are old cotton fields that were sprayed with arsenic to keep the cotton crop secure from bugs. Okay. Turns out it's not good to spray your food and your soil with arsenic. Whoops. Right? So,
Who knew?
Who could have guessed that?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, there's still arsenic in a lot of those soils. However, if you buy rice that is grown outside of the United States, like in Pakistan or India or Thailand and other places that grow rice, my understanding is you're good. You're good. And also, there's Lundberg rice that's here in the United States, grown in California. If buying USA grown rice is very important to you, my understanding is that Lundberg keeps very close tabs on their levels, their arsenic levels, and they fully disclose those on their website, and that they're pretty low. And so, also, Dr. McDougall really felt like this was a minor issue. Like, he was not very particularly concerned about the arsenic deal, and encouraged people to not let that be a reason not to consume rice. So I'll tell you, it's very simple for me. I just buy rice that's grown outside the United States, and I do not worry about it. So that's just my personal thing on that. But yes, I agree, pasta is another great option.
Yeah, and Costco is where we get our rice. I get a big 25-pound bag. It's from Thailand. It's fantastic. And I make sure I never run out.
Right, and another thing I just wanted to put in there, because I'm always trying to get people to travel out to their local, like Hispanic market, Asian market, Indian market. I am noticing, especially in the Asian and Indian markets around me, I'm just in Durham, North Carolina, so I'm not like in a giant city or anything, but we are tech heavy, so there are a lot of markets. I'm seeing more organic rice and spices and beans and things there. So if you've gone maybe 10 years ago and you're like, you prefer that, go check it out. It's usually in a separate little section. And oat groats are, like, I did the Outrageous Oatmeals book a while ago. So oat groats are the whole oat hull without the inedible part. It's the only thing removed. Steel cut oats is that same thing cut with a steel thing like 2 or 3 times. Sometimes known as pinhead oats in the UK. And then rolled oats are steamed and literally rolled. And then you get things like from rolled oats that are like instant oats or quick cooking oats. Those are just, you can make them at home. Take rolled oats and pulse it a few times in your food processor. Those are going to be much more on the mushy side if you're a texture eater. Whereas, like Stacy said, oat groats. So like I think on healthyslowcooking.com, I have an oat groat bean slow cooker chili, because oat groats do take a long time to cook, but if it's in the slow cooker, do you really care? Because you're not watching it, right? So I agree with you completely. So we have another multi-part question. So I see it ahead of time. It is also from Oatmeal Maniac. How do you determine your ideal goal weight? I think Stacy said she had an initial goal weight and then found out that she lost additional pounds afterwards. Chef AJ lost 40 more pounds, I guess, in the same situation beyond her initial goal weight. So how do you really know what goal weight to work towards? There's a YouTube discussion between Dr. McDougall and Frank Nealon from Kipner's Rice. They talked about the Kipner weight charts. Nealon replies by saying that Kipner's weight charts generally equate to a BMI of 19 to 20 for women and a BMI of 20 to 21 for men is ideal. 2 more. I think those BMIs would probably minimize your risk of disease, and that's what I tell people they should be aiming for. So is that what your goal weight should be? If optimal health and disease prevention is our goal? I'm just going to put it on y'all because I don't know none of this.
Y'all the experts.
Tiff, take it away, honey.
I will take it away. All right, so I've worked with Dr. McDougall. I had that honor for so long. So initially, Dr. McDougall would bring up Dr. Kempner's weight chart if you got to be that low, that it was okay. Don't stress out that you're, not getting enough nutrients, that you're unhealthy. You're still healthy. And over time, if you've noticed, Dr. McDougall, just as he got older, when you get older, you usually don't eat as much food as you used to. And, he dropped a little more weight and he was more aligned in his weight chart. So he talked about Kempner a lot. Now, if you ask Stacy, myself, Dr. Lim, Jeff Novick, our nutritionist, our generalization of what we go by is BMI. It's a general idea. It goes from 18.5 to 24.9 decimal repeating. That is normal weight. So if you're 24.9, you're on the higher realm of it, but you're not in the overweight category. And if you are at 18.9, you're not underweight, but you're close to it. Now, our nutritionist Jeff wrote a great article that you can find on drmcdougall.com. If you scroll all the way down, it'll say forum. Go into our forum section. And it was a 2-part article that he wrote on should we try to get to 22 BMI. Now, I think that when one diets or one hasn't been in their ideal weight for a very long time, we have a number. The woman getting married on this day, man, she's going to be this weight no matter what. That's the number. But the reality is, if you weigh yourself every day, you don't stay the exact same number the rest of your life. It fluctuates. And this is where BMI is really cool, because you can look at, where you're at, and you can say, okay, if I am this height and this weight, my normal range that I feel comfortable at, if let's say you want to maintain between a 21, 22 BMI, is starting point this weight, ending point this weight. So you have a range. If you go right in the middle of that, and if you go under it, it's really not a big deal. You're still healthy. If you go over it, not a big deal. But if you start getting to that upper echelon, then there should be a little red flag saying, oh, I've been having a little too much fun. I need to reel it in and kind of get back to basics. And what I really want to also put the point across is that sometimes you think you want to be a certain weight and you find out you either want to be skinnier or you get to a skinnier weight and you realize it's a little too skinny. I remember when I got down to more of the
Just say, okay, go, and I'll make sure. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, do you need anything?
No, I was supposed to be muted. I apologize.
Oh, okay. No worries. But I remember that in my 30s, when I was, doing like a half marathon, a mini triathlon, I was teaching yoga. Like I was exercising all the time, every day, doing something. I was also in martial arts, that my BMI got so low, and it was still unhealthy, that I didn't like it. That personally, I didn't like my ribs protruding out. So, although that I was eating very maximum weight loss, that's when I kind of eased up a bit and was like, no, I could have some avocados and enjoy myself a little more. And so what I want to drive in is BMI is a great ideal, unless you're an Olympic athlete, you blow it to smithereens, and you should never think about that. But you want to think about the overall general health of yourself. How do you look to yourself? How do you feel? Because sometimes BMI might say that, hey, this is a good weight for you, but you feel better 5 pounds heavier, 5 pounds lighter. If you're still in normal BMI, who am I? The only thing that I ever really think about is Jeff Novick's forum articles that I highly recommend that you would go and check it out on drmcdougall.com and read, because he gives a really great background and perspective of it. Stacy?
Great answer. I would just add that for me, so I guess I must have talked about this here before, because it sounds like she's referencing me saying that I got down to a certain weight and then realized that that wasn't like my ultimate where I was going to end up. And for me, it was related to my frame. So that's another big thing, is that your frame, it will help determine where you land in the BMI range. And so if you are a larger framed person, you may be at the very tippy top of the BMI range and be in fantastic shape, and all of your biometric numbers are checking out, your blood pressure, your pulse, your cholesterol, your triglycerides, everything's in good shape, and you feel good and you look good. That's your sweet spot, right? And it's at the tippy top of the BMI range, maybe. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Whereas for me personally, what I found out after I lost weight is I actually have a very small frame. And I should have known that because my mom and my grandmother were very small framed people. And so when I got down to my goal weight, I found out, oh, wow, I feel like I still could lose weight and definitely not be too thin or frail or, all of that. And so for me, it's not the tippy top of the healthy BMI. I'm more like in the lower half. And that's not better than anyone else. That's not the goal that everybody should be going for. The goal that everybody should be going for is, number one, are all of my biometric values in good shape, in range? Number one. Number two, how do I feel? Do I feel totally able-bodied? Do I feel completely comfortable in this body? Do I feel happy with how I look? Do I feel happy with what I'm able to do? Okay. And then you look also at the BMI range and go, am I well within the BMI range? I mean, that is generally the BMI, even though it's not a perfect tool, and some people hate it and have just completely dismissed it because it doesn't apply to certain people. Let's not, as Dr. McDougall would always say, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, okay? Because the BMI still is a fantastic tool for the vast majority of people, okay? And so that's a worthy goal, to get down into the healthy BMI range. But where you land in the healthy BMI range has to do with the biometric numbers, how you feel, how your clothes fit, and what you feel is sustainable as well. Like Tiffany was saying, it's not just, do I look too skinny to myself, but is what I'm doing and how I have to eat to be this way, to be this weight, sustainable for me long term? That's also an important thing to consider.
Both of those are really important to hear. So thank you guys both for weighing in on that. I know we have about 15 minutes more, and I'm sure we have a lot of questions that we haven't gotten to. So now we're to the speed round. No. Kitty Mommy says, I started walking on a treadmill while I work, so about 10 to 12 miles a day. I thought I would lose weight, but I still haven't. I do eat whole food, plant-based, SOS free. And she's saying, I guess I'm just eating more. What should I do? I have about 20 more pounds to lose. And I'm going to add this on, which is, I'm wondering too, if the speed that you walk on a treadmill to walk all that, I'm curious if you guys know if that has a bigger impact than doing longer exercise too. Who wants to go first?
Tiff, do you have an answer?
No, I'm thinking, I wish Jack Dixon was here. He's our exercise guru.
Yeah.
I think movement is really good, but as far as I understand it, and exercise, I am not the forte of this. So, find Jack Dixon, ask Jack. But the whole process of exercising is that you are working out, that you like, I know I don't need to have a monitor on me when I speed walk. I know by my breathing and how quickly and heavily I'm breathing exactly what kind of workout I'm getting. Rather than if I go walk with a friend, that is not what I consider my going out to exercise walk, because that's more of a sachet. So although you're walking on the treadmill, I mean, I'm standing right now. I prefer to stand, and I can't have a treadmill where I'm at. But, walking I think is really good because you're not sedentary. That's very important. But is it giving you the workout that you need? Probably not, because that last 5 to 20 pounds you want to lose is like getting in the ring with Tyson. You got to put those gloves on and you got to fight for every pound. So if you are, I mean, you're stricter than I am. I'm not out of that SOS. I'm not salt free. I'm not sugar free. Do I eat sugar every day? No, I can't even remember the last time I did. But, if I want salt on top of my food, I put it on there. I just don't cook with it. But maybe this is a time to ask yourself, we get used to eating how much food we eat in a setting. And I know that when I lost weight in my 20s, every time I plateaued, I had to remind myself, you don't need to eat as much food as you did 20, 30 pounds heavier. So maybe this is your time to start tweaking that a little bit. And, and how do you do that? Whatever you have in front of you, eat half of it, walk away. If you're starving in 7 minutes, please go back and have some more food. But it'll allow you to kind of slow down that process. And like I had said earlier, that you can start to get a visual of, well, how much food do I need to be satiated? Because we get very used to how much food I usually eat in a setting. And if you've already lost weight, then remember that you don't need to have as much calories in your body as you used to, but your body's used to that. So, it's a harder job really for me when I had to go through it to figure that out than just eating this way. Stacy?
Yeah, and I would just say, Whole Foods, plant-based, SOS free, that's all fantastic, but it's probably not enough to lose weight. That's why the principles of calorie density are so vitally important. That's why Jeff Novick is the guru that he is, and why he helps our patients who have been Whole Foods plant-based for many, many years understand why it is that they can't let go of that last 20 pounds. So you may need to lean more heavily into the principles of calorie density, a la maximum weight loss style eating most of the time in order to lose the rest of your weight. So that's what I'd encourage you to try first, is really try to focus on whole plant food starches like potatoes, rice, corn, quinoa, barley, oatmeal, those starches, as opposed to breads, popcorns, tortillas, muffins, things like that. Steer clear of the nuts, seeds, and nut butters. Man, I can't tell you how often Tiffany and I see that completely sabotage someone's weight loss efforts. I mean, that's like the lowest hanging fruit there is nuts and nut butters. Right, Tiff?
It wreaks havoc, really. I mean, if you want to lose weight, number one, no nut seeds and avocados. Then when you start eating this way for a while and then you're having issues, that's when I start asking people, well, what's your relationship with bread? If you have a piece of bread once a month, it's not going to make it or break it. But if you buy a loaf and it's gone within 3 hours, that's an issue. No chips, no crackers, no popcorn, I mean, muffins. What you want to do is you just want to have the best bang for your buck. And if you want to get to a goal, although initially it might seem harder to, give up those Mary's Gone crackers or, whatever it is that you're holding on to, that nut butter. The reality is, if you give it up and you get to your maintenance weight and your goal, range quicker, then you can add it back in and then you can start testing the waters. How often can I have this where it doesn't affect my weight? Instead of you doing this, back and forth.
Exactly.
Or that is? That's Wimbledon. That's that never ending of I lost 3 pounds, I gained 2, I lost a pound, I gained 4. There's no nobility. all that does is that really damages your mental health. You know, it makes you anxious, it makes you depressed, it makes you mad, you're frustrated. I mean, have so many negative emotions take over you versus just saying, you know what, I'm good. And I know that that's kind of a difficult thing for some people to do. But if you can do that and just talk yourself through it every day and go, you know what, I want a different me, and I want to be in a different place. And if you make real changes will happen. And then you could get back to seeing, can I have avocado toast every other week, or do I have to have it, once a month or every other month?
Okay, that sounds great. Now here's a question. I'm not sure if this is going to be great for you guys or not. Kathy, who is in the program, actually, and Fergus, we'll see him when we come back. Fergus is jumping all around if you hear weird things happening. Can someone comment on research that's showing that miso does not affect blood pressure as much as salt? Doctors Esselstyn and Greger have both mentioned it. I know just as teaching recipes, I always have, even though I eat salt, I always have SOS-free options, and people who follow Dr. Greger are great with miso. People who don't get a little ticked off that I gave them a miso option as well. So what do you guys have to say about that?
So I'm going to just answer this super quickly because I know we're kind of in the lightning round, but it's very simple. So our guidelines for salt are all you need, okay? Which is we only use salt on the surface of our food, just a sprinkle to enhance the flavor such that we can enjoy our food. We do not dump salt into recipes. We really caution against using a bunch of packaged foods that are high in sodium. According to our guidelines, we want people to be around 1,500 milligrams of salt per day and less, okay? And study after study after study after study shows that seems to be a safe limit. So folks who want to go the extra mile and go completely salt-free, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, it's just that you need to know that the studies haven't really held that up as a better preferable salt level than 1,500 milligrams and below. As far as miso and salt and all of that, we don't have a stance on that because we're not salt-free. So if you hear that research and you read that, or you hear from Dr. Greger or Dr. Esselstyn, you like their guidance on that, it's absolutely your prerogative to follow that. That's just not one of the issues that we cover at the McDougall program.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to put it. And so right now it looks like this is our last question, I'll put this in. Someone said, how do you know I just bought Mary's Gone crackers? Laugh out loud. I'll put that. It's not a real question, but so we have another two-parter. It's back to Oatmeal Maniac, back to calculating ideal weight again. Because I think, and here I'll just put me in here too for a second. I think one of the questions that we all have is like, how do we decide where to start? So like, you know you're overweight, you know you want to lose some weight, and I think some people like to have a number. I was not one of those people. I wanted a certain lab to change. That was my first goal. But I think we all have something we're hanging on. So it says, okay, is there a way to calculate ideal weight for optimal health considering frame size? I've seen American Institute for Cancer's research list of tips for cancer prevention. Their number one tip is, in quotes, be as lean as possible without becoming underweight. So I suppose if we can figure out frame size, would that estimate how to be as lean as possible weight-wise?
This is in no way a dig at all on Oatmeal crazed person. I love your name, by the way. This isn't about you personally. But I will just be honest and say most of the time when people are asking me this question, they're not close to it. It's not like they have maybe 2 pounds to lose and they're trying to figure if they actually need to lose those 2 pounds or not. Number one, just get yourself into the healthy BMI range. That's priority numero uno, okay? your frame size makes an impact on ultimately what you will end up weighing, but this is not a number to be calculated, guys. You are not a machine. You are not a robot. You are a human being. So there's no way to spit out an exact number for you. So, and please understand, I'm only just being honest. This question is fantastic, and it's one that I get a lot. So I really appreciate it being asked. And I'm sorry I don't have a more satisfying answer to this, but the answer really is just get yourself into the healthy BMI range. And then from there, it's so much based on your biometric numbers and how you feel and how you look. And if you want to be very, very, very lean, you may have to work very, 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 very hard to get there. And so a lot of it has to do with how hard you're willing to work and what you're willing to give up, and things like that, and what kind of lifestyle you're willing to live. So all of these things have pros and cons. Even if a predominant, like very trustworthy scientific body comes out and says, be as thin as you can possibly be, does that mean everybody should run out and be as thin as they can possibly be? What about enjoyment of life? Like, I don't want to be a little waif person that can't ever go out to eat, or can't ever go on vacation, or can't ever go to a family gathering and eat what other people are providing. So it's always up to you about what you're willing to give, what you're willing to take, and also how satisfied you are with your biometric numbers and how you feel.
And Tiffany, did you?
Okay. Yeah, I do actually. In the end, if you're not happy, it will not be sustainable, hands down. Mm-hmm. You know Perfect. What? And I don't care who says what. You know yourself very well. And, and I think that, I know, just to wrap this up, there is something that I have noticed with patients over the years, and I call it the too skinny mentality. You've had, and I call myself this once in a while, I had fat girl mentality when I was overweight, and you think and see yourself in a certain way. And then all of a sudden you get to like where you want to be, or you're a little lower than that. But it's like this psychology that's been in your head over and over again about, I got to lose weight. I need that last 5 pounds, You also need to know when to stop. That is very important, because being underweight is not healthy.
Oops. And that's great. Yeah, I think that's great too. Cheryl is actually texting you, Stacy, to say you can go if you need to go.
Okay.
I know,
yes.
But I think we're going to wrap everything up now. And Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on today. Hopefully you felt as welcomed as we wanted you to be.
Great.
Yeah, it's just like us hanging out together. That's all. Yeah, and everybody gets to ask these questions and things like this. Stacy, have a wonderful time wherever you're going, because I know you're going somewhere cool. And I'm going to finish this up, guys. Make sure to check out all the links down below. If you have some questions, go ahead and answer. If you're watching the replay, ask them in the comments. Sometimes Stacy will come back. Here, I don't know how to make that difference besides the size of your face. Here, well, anyhow. So we're going to go now, and we will talk to you very, very soon, okay? All right.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah, thank you so much.